Right. Hello, everyone. Hello, Leo. This is our first time using Restream, so bear with us for the first 10 seconds here as we get this up. I think it's working. If you're watching, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And Leo, how you doing?
Good, good. How's it going?
It's good, man. It's good. If Let me mute my microphone, my computer on the other side there. Don't get some feedback. If this is your first time joining one of our lives, very happy to have you with us. I'm Andrew. This is Leo. We are two of the three musketeers from Learn Your English. And today, Leo, we're talking about something. Let's just dive right into it. About something that we love to talk about, other people love to talk about, and that is pronunciation, but specifically building a course around pronunciation and kind of some
Exactly.
key features of what that would entail.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things for us to talk about is how you cannot create a pronunciation course in a vacuum. And I think we should eventually start with our agenda because we want these to be short and sweet to the point. So, Andrew, I'm going to start by asking. Last week we had a webinar with a pronunciation expert, author, writer. She's written a lot of books on pronunciation, Donna Brenton. And it was a great
Mhm.
webinar where she basically guided us
Fantastic.
from the beginning of how pronunciation diagnostics started up to this day. What was one key takeaway for you from you that we can use to talk about building a pronunciation course?
A lot. If you missed the webinar, it's on our YouTube channel. It's in our community. You can check out the recording. But Donna really kind of brought us back from the audiolingual era, and in some ways we're still there, but kind of from the 70s, I guess, where it became prominent to now. And she really focused on diagnosing pronunciation. So typically speaking, at the beginning of a course, especially if you work at an institution or something, you as teachers, we would do something called a needs assessment and diagnosing where the students are at individually and being able to help them out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of she pointed out some of for me one of the takeaways was some of the flaws
Mm-hmm.
in how in the audiolingual era or from that approach the flaws in what those diagnostics would look like. So having students read a passage that's not as authentic as maybe we would like it to be, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then she would say it's very debilitating for the student because you're actually asking them to do a lot of things. First of all, they're reading first, not really, speaking first.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some vocabulary there that they don't know, they're self-conscious about it, and then maybe it's written from a perspective that they wouldn't actually go out into the real world and talk about and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we're judging the pronunciation or evaluating or diagnosing pronunciation, it's almost the last thing that the student would be paying attention to in that kind of exercise. So yeah, I think that was my takeaway of how can we better evaluate or diagnose pronunciation.
Yeah, I think what I was going to add on top of your takeaway is that if we're building a pronunciation course, I think we can't be generic. And I think that's the point that she was trying to make is that a lot of the diagnostic assessments that we have for pronunciation are very generic, are very general. There's nothing designed specifically for a specific group of people, for a niche. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm actually going to copy and paste something here on the screen. I don't know if you want to share our screen with the audience so maybe they
Will
can
do.
see what we have here on our agenda. And as you can see, Andrew, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a picture there, and I think you'll probably recognize that this is from a course book. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like you're teaching students these three sounds, the s, the z, and the is sound. And all you're doing is asking them to listen and repeat, memorize some sort of rule of pronunciation, and then think about how you would um, say these verbs if you're using them in the third person, right? Like he chooses, he cooks. You're teaching them that. I think the problem with that is the transformation is not tangible. The transformation is not clear to the student because he's like, yeah, I can pronounce these sounds now, but this has no transferability to what I'm going to be doing when I'm doing, for example, sales or if I'm a doctor. So I think that's the most important thing for us to think about in terms of building a pronunciation course is this pronunciation course has to be targeted, has to be tailored to a very specific audience, promising them a very specific transformation.
Okay. So how do we do this? Or what's one way to start to think about that? Because this is a question we get a lot, and it's a great question, of course. I heard you. say this the other day. Oh, you said this a few times where teaching pronunciation this way at the sound level, you think it's very similar to the grammar McNugget
Yeah, yeah.
approach. Can you
No,
explain that a
because
little bit?
yeah, think about this. When we teach language, what we're doing is we're teaching the present perfect, we basically break down language: simple past, present, continuous, what else? Past continuous. I can't remember all of them right now, but we're teaching
No
them
future.
no future. We're teaching them all of them individually, and we are expecting the student, whenever they are put in a situation where they have to communicate, we're expecting them to synthesize all of these tenses that were learned individually and have them use them when they're communicating in the language. And pronunciation is very similar. We teach students all these individual sounds, and we expect them to master all these individual sounds the moment they produce language. And we know this is never going to be the case because this is not how people learn languages. So, this approach to
Hmm.
pronunciation doesn't really yield the kinds of results that we expect them to yield. So, what's the solution to this problem, you ask me? I think the solution, I'm going to write it here on the text. The solution for us is very simple: creating a course. I'm going to write it here in the solution: create a course focused on pronunciation, or with an element of pronunciation, or a module on pronunciation. Okay.
Hmm.
And um, tailored, and this course has to be tailored, um, or it has to cater. I'm going to use this word better: cater to specific needs and interests of the learners. Because then it's easier for us to isolate that transformation. If you scroll down, I just wrote that down on solution. Yeah. So there you go. We need to create a course that is focused on pronunciation, or a course that has a module on pronunciation that cater to the specific needs and interests of learners. And then, of course, we need to know exactly which niches to consider. And maybe I was thinking, Andrew, we can think about niches here that we can
Sure.
create courses for. For example, pronunciation for ESL students, it's too vague. Way too vague.
Yes.
Way too vague. But what if we do this? What if we do pronunciation for actors and performers? Right then, if we do this, what we are doing is we are offering specialized training for actors, for voiceover artists, and for performance who need to adopt. Maybe the focus here would be on adopting specific accents for specific roles, or the other transformation would be to improve the clarity of their speech.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
We can also think about, I was even thinking about this, a pronunciation for customer service professionals. Let's put this one down here.
Okay.
So
Good.
that's a good one too, because I feel like that's a niche. A lot of customer service professionals out there. So what could we do? Well, we're going to design a course for individuals in customer service. So the niche here, the audience is um, individuals in customer service roles who need to communicate with clarity and effectively with clients from diverse backgrounds.
Hmm.
So now we have something. What do you want to say?
Interesting. No, I think so. It's very becoming clear, or at least by these examples, that
Hmm.
because what you put earlier in the solution bar there, create a course focused on pronunciation or a module on pronunciation. And even in that title you have there, pronunciation for customer service professionals, in
Hmm.
the description, or in that, what you just kind of created there, it's not really focusing on pronunciation, is it? It's focusing on communicating clearly,
Hmm.
communicating effectively, communication above pronunciation. So
Exactly.
is that the take part of our takeaway here? Is that a
Yeah.
pronunciation is a micro element, but it's part of a bigger picture.
Yes. Because the course is not the transformation for the client is not pronunciation. The transformation is that they can communicate clearly and effectively with their clients. Like if you tell your students you're going to learn everything about intonation, you're going to learn everything about I don't know. You're gonna learn everything about thought groups. You're gonna learn everything about pausing. You're gonna learn how to pronounce long sounds, short sounds, that kind of thing. That doesn't mean anything to the audience. What the audience is like, I I want to get a job in customer service working online, but I need to speak. And sometimes when I speak, people don't understand me. So what I need is we need to create a course that has a pronunciation component, but the transformation is much larger. It encompasses clear, effective communication so that you can communicate with clients from diverse backgrounds. And I can give you like a few examples of that, what that would look like later.
Okay, for sure, for sure. So it's a bigger transformation, right? You're right,
Mhm.
because we talk a lot about what problem does your course solve or your offer solve or the transformation, or what problem do you solve for your clients, right?
Mhm.
Pronunciation is rarely the problem. It's like a symptom of the problem,
Yes. Good
right?
point.
The problem isn't I can't pronounce the schwa,
No.
right? The problem is what you just said. When I talk to other people, they have this reaction, or I can't do
Yes.
this, or I can't do this, or if it's professionally, I don't make the sale, or the person, the customer service, the client
Mhm.
on the phone, the cable
Yeah.
client whose cable's not working. I can't reason with them. I can't get my point across. And then
Yes.
from there, through a diagnosis, maybe pronunciation would be you would evaluate maybe that's part of it. Maybe there's other
Yeah.
things as well.
Yeah.
But it's really coming down to maybe it's a symptom of the problem and it's not the actual
Exactly.
problem.
Yeah, very rarely a client would say to you, "I will pay you a lot of money for you to help me pronounce the schwa sound." No. What the client is gonna look for is, I have a job where I have to interact with customers all the time. I have a hard time talking to customers. I don't think my reviews from customers are very good because I think they have a hard
Mhm.
time understanding me. So that person has a very specific problem. So your transformation, now let's go back to the transformation or what this course for professional or pronunciation for customer, so for customer service professionals. The transformation here for these for this specific group, Andrew, would be, improved customer interactions, you know?
Right.
Um, so you can communicate more effectively with clients. And this would lead to better customer satisfaction and potentially, oops, let me spell this word correctly, and potentially increased sales, which again will generate more money for you, or client retention. I can give you a good example of this. I
Mhm.
sometimes call Bell because I have an internet with Bell. Bell is an internet provider in Canada. I hate calling Bell. Why? Because sometimes I have a hard time understanding their customer service. It's painful. So if we created a course for customer service professionals and we offer this course to Bell, Bell wouldn't pay for schwa. Bell wouldn't pay for
Good point.
Bell wouldn't
No
pay
chance.
for oh, we're going to help them with intonation. They're going to be able to use rising intonation. But what Bell cares is, will our customers be more satisfied when they call customer service? Yes. Will our staff increase sales if they communicate better? Yes. Will this will we be able to retain more clients? Yes. That is the transformation that they would pay a lot of money for.
Correct.
And teachers don't understand that.
Great example. Great example.
Teachers don't understand that because teachers only care about the technicality of the language. You are the expert in the technicality, but you have to craft that in a way that appeals to an audience of people who don't understand those things.
Correct. Whether it's we talk about this all the time, right? There's two aspects of it, and sometimes we as educators jump to the second aspect, to the solution aspect. So
Hmm.
that's the how, and those are important things. But on
Yeah.
the front end, before that, it's the what or the problem,
Hmm.
and identifying the problem that you solve, and what is it. And we always say this: it's almost never linguistic. It's not
Yes.
the schwa. It's not consonant sounds. It's not vowel sounds. It's not rising intonation, falling intonation. It's I'm losing. So the Bell example, every time a client comes in, they get frustrated and they request to cancel their service.
Yes.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's exactly the problem, because our customer service professionals do not do not do a good job of communicating clearly, asking questions. Um, they they don't have clear pronunciation. You know, there's something there. And if you come
Right.
in with a solution and say, I have designed a solution, a course that will help. Let's go back here to our notes. Your pronunciation for customer service professionals. Maybe we can even change from pronunciation to communication, right? We can even maybe write that down here as communication slash pronunciation for. So basically, we have this very clear transformation for them. You will experience improved customer interactions, and of course, so that you can communicate more effectively with clients, leading to better satisfaction, increased sales, and client retention.
The so you
Bell,
can principle there. Yeah.
exactly. Bell would pay for that. I think any professional, if you're talking to executives and you say, I'm going to offer you a course where I'm going to teach you the present perfect for interviews, they're not gonna care about that. What they care about is, can you solve this problem for me? And what is the transformation that this course is going
Right.
to offer?
And that's a corporate context, right? But I think
Hmm.
if you're a teacher and you're watching this and you're working within pronunciation, some kind of offer, or you're creating one or thinking of creating one, and prospective clients, students, individuals come to you, oftentimes, yeah, they will say, hey, my pronunciation is bad. My pronunciation needs work. I need to improve my pronunciation.
Hmm.
But just one little follow-up question,
Yeah.
just like, why do you
Yeah.
say that?
Yeah.
Will get you to the actual problem. So maybe they've diagnosed they need to, but that's not the problem.
Mm-mm.
Why do they have they arrived at that conclusion?
Yeah.
Maybe they're correct, maybe they're not correct. And just pronunciation umbrella is big. In our podcast tomorrow and later, we're intelligibility and sound scripting and pacing and all these things. It's all
Yeah.
under that umbrella, right?
Yeah.
But what is the specific problem or situation that has arisen for them
Hmm.
that has resulted in them saying they need to improve their pronunciation. So we
Yeah.
need to find that out specifically,
Yeah.
because when you find that out, then you can help them. But to your point, with that niche, our take on niching is it's the problem you solve. It's not a
Yeah.
person, it's a problem you solve. And then you find more people like that who are in that same situation, and you can go through the what Donna said, the diagnosing of pronunciation issues really comes down to
Hmm.
diagnosing of communication issues in a certain context. And then another thing that we say is your niche is your needs assessment.
Yeah.
So within reason, if you worked with enough people who have our customer service agents, and they've told you basically the same story again and again, you pretty much know you don't need to do a needs assessment anymore.
Yeah.
There's going to be minor differences,
Hmm.
obviously, but on a whole, that they can't do these phrases and they can't
Yeah.
attend to this kind of complaint and these kinds of things effectively. So you kind of know what's going to happen. It makes
And
your
you,
job a lot easier.
in a good way, Andrew, because a lot of teachers ask us, like, how can I design a course that people will actually buy? Maybe we can look at that. Maybe the first module of that course would be the assessment. So people would be like, "Oh, actually, I realize." And this is another very important thing from the another
Yes.
takeaway from Donna's session is that your course has to be built within the content
Oh,
of that
yes.
group. So, for example, if you're designing a course on clear pronunciation for customer service professionals and you're using material from English file where the sentences are like, she likes cats, he works with his parents, none of these examples are relevant to that very specific audience. So, what your first module would look like, maybe it would be something like this: fundamentals of clear, we can say pronunciation, or we can even say clear communication if we want here.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I'm going to be generous today, and I'm going to give everyone a little peek in what my how my brain works when I'm designing a course. So this
There
is
you
it:
go.
fundamentals of clear pronunciation. What we would do here, we would basically just cover the basics of English pronunciation. You know, um, so we would give them a text. This is where we do the diagnostic of the. So we cover the basics of English pronunciation. We can do vowel, consonant, sounds, some pronunciation challenges, not for no for customer service professionals. Okay, so what are some of the sounds that these customer service professionals are experiencing problems with? And then, of course, we can always do exercises to diagnose. Let's do this, not to practice, I would say to diagnose and improve articulation and clarity. So that's a more general module that we could create, but then we have to go more specific, right? So one example of that would be maybe us creating a module. Let's do this. Let's call this module two. I'm only going to give you two examples because we don't have a lot of time. Module two, Andrew, would probably be something like intonation and stress patterns in customer interactions.
So you're
You know?
noticing already we're getting more specific into the actual pronunciation elements or features, we can call them, right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
overall goal is intelligibility and in this specific situation, but how do we get there? What
Yes.
are the steps involved, right? And
Exactly.
now here we go.
Yeah, so intonation and stress patterns in customer interaction. So you need to have a little bit of understanding of task-based language teaching. You need to be able to find examples of um, texts that belong to customer service, the customer service genre. So we need to do a little bit of genre analysis, so you can
Mhm.
actually create a course that involves or they encompasses the content that customer services require.
Perfect. And
You know?
if you're doing this, like ideally you would come from a customer service background as well. But if you haven't, then you've been a customer of something like Leo's telling you about calling Bell and being annoyed. You know what the complaints are.
Yeah.
And build it once, sell it a bunch of times, right? So obviously you're going to tweak it and you can build a skinny version first and then learn about it, go through a pilot, whatever. But you're going to know you're going to be tweaking it always, but
Hmm.
in general what will be
Yeah,
be beneficial for the client, right?
and I even just added here, focusing on the rhythm of English. So you would teach them stress and intonation patterns, but those things attached to your niche, essential for sounding natural and engaging in customer service scenarios. And how do we achieve that? Well, I think the best way, specifically in a situation like this, would be role playing exercises,
There you go.
to practice typical customer, oops, customer service interactions.
If I can
And
add one thing too, because one
then-
thing Donna shared a picture of a textbook that she
mm,
liked that she thinks does a good job during the session. But one thing that we like to put at the beginning of all of our courses, whether it's for teachers or students, is talking about like a diagnostic or a needs assessment. But the client can do that for themselves, right? There can be a
mhm,
reflective module at the beginning where they self-assess, where they think their weaknesses are, their strengths are, things they want to improve. And
mhm.
as they go through the course, they're able to benchmark themselves, if you can say that, against what they're learning, and then kind of come back to it at the end and do more reflect again on the areas that they've improved. Because one of the maybe the most essential part of any course is you say it has to offer a transformation, but the client
Yeah.
has to feel the transformation. They have to get to
Yes.
the end and say, hey, I did it. It has to be tangible. So
And
how do you get them to feel that or do that? You have to build that into the
exactly.
course as well.
And the only way they can experience the transformation if they are fully immersed in the content. And what do I mean by that? This is gonna be my last point. If you scroll down,
Oh, yep.
um, you shall see another picture there. There
Mhm.
you go. You could teach regular verbs with ed endings, but not in a vacuum. This has to be connected to a transaction or to an interaction where the customer says, so last week I did this, and that. And then the skill that you're practicing with your customer service client is listening and repeating. So let me see if I understand this right. You booked a vacation. Okay. And what happened? Well, we decided that we wanted to go to a different place. So the ED is attached to a very specific context with a very specific outcome within a very specific language
For
for a very
sure.
specific group of people. You know what I'm saying?
And guess what happens when you focus on sound in isolation? They can probably do it pretty well when just doing the ed sound, and then you ask them a
Exactly.
question to answer, and it goes away. they
Exactly.
can't they can't do it anymore. So what's the
Because
point in doing it in
it's what you
isolation if they
said.
can't
It's what
reproduce
you
it?
said. If I teach this lesson, the students are going to be able to say, "We booked a vacation. We walked around the town. Good. How was your weekend? Oh, I walked it with my dog. Oh, I get it. So
Yeah,
they won't get it as long as it has to be relevant. It has to be extremely relevant to their needs, and that's
100%.
basically it. That's basically it. I think this is enough.
That's it. And then this is just a picture of the textbook that Donna shared of Miller, 2006. So, not super recent, but one that she recommended as doing a pretty good job. And you can see here part one setting goals,
Hmm.
targets, your speech effectiveness level, and that's all stuff that the student or in your case, your client would do on their own and be able to self-assess before getting into what the key elements are of actually improving. We use pronunciation as a umbrella term, but really it's being more intelligible, communicating your message in whatever specific situation they want to improve on, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's basically it, folks. And that's basically what we're going to be doing in these lives. We're going to be talking a lot about how teachers can start thinking about building their own courses. But again, everything goes back to, if we can go back to the topic, the top of our session today, is that you need to think about the transformation that your pronunciation course is going to offer. And that could
Yes.
be anything. It could be, you know, um, it could be enhancing their professional opportunities, because if they have better pronunciation, that can open doors to different job opportunities, especially in roles that require effective communication skills like customer service, sales, teaching, public speaking, what have you. Um, it could be you will gain greater clarity in public speaking, for people who are constantly talking to an audience, like lecturers, politicians, or presenters, so pronunciation can have that kind of transformation. You know, the
Hmm.
point is, it has to be specific, it has to solve a very specific problem for that very specific group of people. If you don't have a group of people in mind and you don't know how to get started, how can we help?
Yeah. So two ways here. You can see the QR code on the screen. So if you haven't got a niche yet, or you have nothing to sell and you're just starting your kind of entrepreneur journey here as a teacher, we have a community called 5 in 30, where we help you get your first 5 clients in 30 days to get up, to get running. And we work with you through 3 specific steps in that. One is to identify the problem that you solve. So that's kind of our element of niche. So, what is the exact problem that you're going to be solving? Step two, to create a skinny solution for that. And step three is to sign up 5 people within 30 days. We soft launched this in December. We've had people
Mhm.
come through. Not me, another Andrew got 20 people in 3 weeks. Anna's got 7 people in 4 weeks. Other people are moving forward and have created offers that they're really proud of as well. So if you're looking to kind of take action and kind of move forward, and the idea of 5 in 30 is to stop kind of thinking about an idea that you could do and actually just see if it has traction, or to get out there
Mhm.
and just kind of take some action. So 5 clients, 30 days. QR code there is on the screen, and you can join us right there. And it's $25, I should say, which is, we think, a pretty fair price to get 5 clients. So $25 per month, and we want you to cancel after 30 days, because that means that you're done. You got five
Mhm.
clients, you're off and running. And then we also have our spa course as well. And Leo, you designed this, so let me throw it over to you. But it's called Spa. Maybe there's a QR code there if you are really interested in learning about pronunciation. But maybe you can talk about why it's called Spa.
Yeah, I think first of all, the course is called SPA because it encompasses speaking. So you would develop your speaking by also working on your pronunciation. And the idea is that once you learn this, you can do this by yourself. So the idea behind SPA, when I created this course for us, was that I truly believe in the power of learner autonomy, even though it's something that it can be very difficult to be achieved, because it's not just about talking about learner autonomy. It's about being autonomous. It's about, you know, being accountable with yourself. And a lot of people aren't. Like, I wasn't accountable with myself this morning when I couldn't get up early in the morning. So it's difficult. But I think SPA does offer a very good framework. People are asking about like what books they recommend. I wouldn't recommend any books. I would recommend getting this course because you will definitely look at pronunciation from a more holistic perspective. And more importantly, I think this course will give you a lot of theoretical and practical grounding to actually build your own online course that might or may not involve pronunciation. And we know a lot of teachers who have created courses have created courses that focus on pronunciation have used SPA as their inspiration.
As the model, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So those two on the screen, Spa's 149, 5 clients in 30 days, $25 to get 5 clients. We'll help you go through that to get that business off the ground. And I think we have time just for a quick Q&A here. Galena, not to single you out, but I think this is a good question, a good example. So I'm going to put your question on the screen.
Mm,
And you say, I have a student who doesn't fit your niche, but needs a lot of work on his pronunciation. Where would you recommend starting the journey? And I think that's a good example of what we've talked about today, of it needs to be something specific, right?
yeah.
So the pronunciation journey for what, right? So I
Mm,
responded and said, well, what's his goal? And that's the question, right? So
yeah.
what's the problem that you solve? What problem is he looking to be solved? It's not
Hmm.
pronunciation. It's something bigger than
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
then from that, you extrapolate. But this is also the problem of working in isolation with one person who has this problem, one person who has that problem. You're going to
Yeah.
have to invent a sequence for every client that you have, which if you're just
Yeah.
starting, you can do that because you want to get started and get some clients. But over time, that's pretty tiring, right? So leaning into a common problem that lots of people have allows you to not recreate the wheel every time.
Yeah. What I would suggest, honestly, Andrew, is like, especially when I have a client, just a one-off client that doesn't have a niche, I would say I would teach them the skills that they need to learn to develop their pronunciation on their own, and then you just do check-ins with them.
Good.
But once a week, you give them a task, and so you have to do this task. Next week, I'll look at it with you for maybe half an hour. Maybe that's a different service. I don't know, but that's what I would do. Pronunciation is the kind of work that is a kind of area of a language that you need to do a lot of the work by yourself. And if you know how to do that by yourself, if you create a course that guides students into developing pronunciation awareness, then I think they're off to a pretty good start there.
Beautiful. And one other one from the beginning here, Liz had a question about charging for these kinds of things. Do you favor a subscription-based model or single price with add-ons? Great question, Liz.
Mm,
There isn't one answer to that. I don't
mhm.
know that I favor or Leo favors one, just different things to consider.
Yeah.
For subscription-based model, then you would probably be going for volume, which means you would need a lot of people. And just average subscription rates in any industry is about 90 days, so 3 months. So know that when you acquire a customer, you're going to get them probably for about 3 months worth of so whatever you're charging. So you can, strategize your revenue month over
Hmm.
month based on that. And then single price with add-ons is also a good one, but then you don't have the recurring revenue of a subscription would offer. But
Yeah.
if you charge it higher, you wouldn't need as many customers. So there's pros and cons to both, but
Hmm.
certainly offering a lower tier, DIY offer with, live class or one-to-one upsells is also a good
Yeah.
option as well. So
one
yeah,
one thing I was going to add in terms of the subscription based model, I think there are, as you said, there are lots of advantages, lots of opportunities. As you said, recurring revenue, easier to update and add content, potential for a community aspect as well. But the costs, I think, because
mm,
the easy to update is
more
also
work.
a problem because it requires constant updates and engagement strategies to retain the subscribers, right? It might
Correct.
also be less attractive to people who just prefer a one-time payment. Like me, I'm the kind of guy who just wants a one-time payment. And there's a high risk of churn rate if the content or the user experience doesn't meet the expectations. So you have to constantly make changes to it.
Correct.
Same thing with a single price, right? There are lots of opportunities, people who prefer one-off payments, as you said, and there's a potential for higher upfront revenue, right? Um, and of course, there's flexibility for the users to choose what extra content or features they want. But the cost is like, as you said, once they purchase, there might be less engagement with that user, less predictable revenue compared to a subscription model. So,
But I would say this, with a subscription, yes, you need to update because imagine paying for Netflix and they never created anything new.
or never add
How
new
many
movies.
people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's more work, more intensive, but it also can work. You just need usually subscription base is going to be a lower price point,
Yeah.
generally speaking. So you're going to need more volume of clients, which will affect the value or the quality of attention each one will
Yeah.
get as well. But it can work if it's simple. But that's into the weeds a bit. I
Hmm.
always say if you just help people with the transformation that they want in any way, and they get the return that they want when they sign up, then they'll
Yeah.
be happy and they'll be willing to pay again for the next step. So I think
Yeah.
that's the main focus for sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right.
Any more questions? I don't know.
Uh, th- I probably missed a few. Book recommendations, we got that. Adrian, thank you, man. He's liking 5 and 30. He's loving it. So thank you for
Good.
that. I should put that on the screen. That's the one we need to put up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good reflection too, that this attempt or this approach can be applied to anything, not just pronunciation, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This would be how you could build any course. Absolutely. Elaine, no notes. Sorry, but you can watch the recording and grab the notes there.
Yes,
Um,
we're gonna be spending a lot more time on YouTube, so you're gonna have a chance to see us talking about building a course, running a business. So if you are a teacher, make sure to you make sure you let other teachers know. Invite them to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're gonna be using this a lot more now. We've decided that YouTube is a channel that we definitely would like to explore a little bit more. And I think Andrew and I are happy with this platform here. We can
yeah.
stream on many different platforms. So
And if you're planning
um,
to do lives for yourself, we're using Restream as what we're doing now, so it's quite good. And I mean, this is our first time using it, but you can tell us if you think it looks good on your side. But I'm happy with it. It's free, so that's even better as well.
yeah, Bianca said something interesting, which I agree with. It's this idea of adding a pronunciation package add-on. If you're like, if
Oh,
these people are not from your niche, and I think that's a great idea. If you ask me, I would definitely recommend something like that. Especially, for example, if your niche is IELTS, you're working with IELTS students. So basically, the pronunciation add-on for the IELTS would be, I'm trying to think of something here. Yeah, so like students preparing for tests like IELTS or TOEFL, you could create a pronunciation add-on to a course that prepares them for the IELTS and the TOEFL. But then the transformation in that very specific add-on would be higher scores in the speaking
correct.
components.
Yes, you'd have to analyze the band scores, how
Exactly.
they grade the speaking and
Yeah.
pronunciation element, and then create the course around that. Test prep courses are not the most like it's to a very specific. It's to a point, right? How do I
Hmm.
get 7, 7.5,
Yeah.
6, whatever?
Yeah.
Why haven't the diagnosis would be what score did you get last time? Why didn't you
And then
get
looking
that?
at the
And
bands, as
then
you said, right? And
exactly.
then identifying those. Another thing I was going to say before we wrap it up, and I think we're giving too much because we said we were only going to do this for 20 minutes, but we
No
we
one's
like,
accused us of being
yes,
short-winded.
yes, that's both a problem.
If anyone
It's
has
a
a course on that, I would buy it, please.
it's
Thank
yeah,
you.
like how to not give away too much. I think we do. I was trying to remember where, but there is a list. Maybe we can do another live, Andrew, on this because tomorrow we're going to be interviewing Gemma Archer and Robin
Yes.
Walker, and we're going to be talking about teaching pronunciation for a globalized world, or for a global. I can't remember the name of the book, but anyway, one of the things I was going to say is that there is a core. I think Jennifer Jenkins, who wrote. Let me see if I can find her name here. Jennifer Jenkins wrote the core ELF, and basically the lingua
Mhm.
franca core, and she focused on
Okay.
I found it. I found what I was looking for. So the lingua franca core is most consonant sounds, which are very difficult for students, one vowel sound, consonant clusters, vowel length, and word grouping and placement of nuclear stress. So if you were to create a course that focused only on these things within a very specific niche, you will be helping them with intelligibility. They will be
Yes.
able to sound better, to sound more clear, and things like that
It's counterintuitive, right? Just to end here. Oh, by the way, the book is called Teaching English Pronunciation for a Global World.
for a global
That's
world.
the
Yeah.
name of the book by Robin Walker and Gemma Archer. We're interviewing them tomorrow. You won't hear that for a couple of months, but we're interviewing them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's counterintuitive, but it's just like teaching grammar. When we explicitly teach grammar, the students don't remember it and can't use it. It's the same with pronunciation. Don't focus on the sounds, focus on the intelligibility, on the communicative goal that they have. And that's the hard part because with the niche, then you need to find out what the commonality is there. But once you figure that out, you're off to the races because you'll
Hmm.
have a great thing ahead of you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, looks like a good crowd today. Thanks everyone for coming out. Good trial run with the Restream. We'll be doing this more often, so stay tuned. We're finalizing the schedule for the first 6 months of the year, so we can't announce it yet because we haven't decided, but we're close to deciding. Stay tuned to the space here, and we'll be doing these a lot more regularly.
Yeah.
So 5 and 30 in the QR code there if you want to get 5 clients in the next 30 days, or just even just create an offer or identify a niche problem that you solve. work with us for a couple of months there, $25 a month. And then as well, the SPA course, if you want to learn about sound scripting and pronunciation, or use it to study a model for building your own
Yeah.
pronunciation course as well. Also QR code there. You can also send us an email or go to the website for more information. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Enjoy
everyone.
a happy hump day.
Yeah.
On to February.